After Cheetah and Gigantus, Cersei's probably the most known Wonder Woman villain. But did you know that after her first appearance in 1949, she would disappear completely from comics for 34 years, only to be brought back in the 80s, which would cement the character as a staple of Wonder Woman's rogues gallery. Now, Cersei is based on the witch of the same name from Greek mythology, a woman who has a knack of turning humans into animals, along with a general dislike for almost all men, although there's a few that she does respect even if she won't ever admit it. Now, Cersei in her first appearance, she and other characters would reference her having met Wonder Woman before, although it was off-panel, but these implications have led some to believe that there was a prior interaction. But unless it was like a 1940 comic strip in a newspaper that had a single printing and was destroyed the next day, they've never met on panel before. Sorry, I was laughing at my own joke, even though it wasn't really that funny. This Cersei is very close to her Greek mythos self, using torturous methods of turning anyone who comes to her island of Aia into an animal. Primarily men, but she will make exceptions for women when they come to her island. This is Wonder Woman issue 37 from 1949. Wonder Woman, Paula, and Steve find out about her actions, with Diana going to the island to face the witch, only for herself to be turned into a doe. A doe is another word for a female deer. I'm saying that because I didn't know that when I first read this story, and I found this photo on Google of one. Look how cute it is! I named her Biscuits! Anyway, Cersei hides the antidote to the animal shifting on top of a glass mountain, hoping that no one would ever get the chance to get it, and for it to be more of a taunt, which is very Cersei-like. Although, one question, why make an antidote? Is it just in case you yourself get turned into an animal? If you don't want them to turn back to human, then don't make the antidote to turn them back to human. But Cersei gets attracted by Diana's lasso, thinking that she'll keep it as a weapon for herself. Yeah, a weapon. That's what she's gonna use it for. But in the moment, Wonder Woman gets away. Also, that joke is because at this point in Wonder Woman comics, and for a very long time in Wonder Woman comics, there were undertones, or just straight up tones, of inappropriate elements of BDSM and kink. That's for a video of another time, although I actually do want to make a video about that because it's fascinating. Not like that, not like that. I just mean as in it's fascinating behind the scenes involving what went down, since a ghostwriter was actually the one introducing these elements, but whoever they were writing underneath was the one that got blamed. They're also typically called like perverted men, when the ghostwriter was actually a woman. Wonder Woman seeing her chance, she runs up the mountain to get the antidote, curing herself to jump down to face Cersei. The story ends with the rest of the animal humans being cured by Wonder Woman, while Cersei is sent to live the rest of her days on Rehabilitation Island, an island where villains are forced to love authority by wearing magical girdles that apparently harmonize their insides, where they also have no choice in the matter. It's full on locked onto them. That's very questionable on Wonder Woman's part. This story is pretty fun and short. Cersei's role is also fairly small, but even then, she does fit the tone of the story due to the characterization from mythology. She does come across as a pretty credible threat. The only issue is the fact that she got distracted by the lasso so easily. Because if she didn't, Wonder Woman would have been a doe forever. She was so close to winning. Not that I'm rooting for Cersei to win. No one wants Cersei to win. I mean, some people might. But as a man, of course, I don't want Cersei to win. But I think the character of Cersei is really interesting, and even from here, I think the character had some pretty strong potential. I hope I'm one of the few men that she doesn't turn to a chicken. I did find the parts I paraphrased over about Diana and her friends pretty wholesome. Early Wonder Woman comics had a lot of nice moments between Wonder Woman and her supporting cast. From her friends to Steve, to her mom, to other Amazons, even her villains. They're very heartwarming, and remind you that you were completely alone. There would also be a version of Cersei who would appear in the Silver Age of DC Comics that wasn't affiliated with Wonder Woman nor magic, nor the original Cersei. Instead, she was an alien scientist who would inspire the myth of Cersei to humans, which in turn makes the Golden Age Cersei non-canon. Although technically that one did exist on Earth too, we just didn't see her afterwards. Because, well, retcons. This one was also not a villain, but instead would try to help turn half-human animals into either full humans or full animals. It's a pretty good paying job apparently. The Greek goddess Circe and the alien Circe are completely separate characters. This alien Circe would also be responsible for the Super Horse, Supergirl's pet horse who would make out with her when he turned into a man, which by the way she did not know was him. Yeah, that was a thing too. She would accidentally turn a centaur named Brian into a horse, but as a way to say sorry would give him superpowers. I don't think that's really a fair exchange. The real Circe would return in Wonder Woman issue 302 from 1983, when she would see a vision of the daughter of the Queen of the Amazons defeating her, which would of course fuel her to be determined to defeat Wonder Woman first. And her idea of defeat is murdering, thinking that perhaps by killing her it would prevent her eventual defeat. This would of course just lead to her actually being beaten by Wonder Woman. With Circe just returning, it made the character a perfect candidate for a retouching once the multiverse imploded and was glued back together. That of course being Crisis on Infinite Earths, which led to Post-Crisis, which led to a lot of things. Let's just leave it at that. She would return post-Crisis in Wonder Woman issue 17 from 1988, becoming the iconic foe she is today, using her powers to once again transform her victims into animals. But instead of it being a form of torture or humiliation, it was more of just a simple pleasure that she had and finding it fun. She primarily focuses her shifting to men, but has on occasion done it to women, although sometimes they want to be transformed and ask her to do it for them. Which weirdly has happened more than once. This Cersei's motivation comes from a hatred for the Amazons due to their part in her ancient history. For centuries, she believed them to be dead, only for the revelation that this new Wonder Woman was the daughter of the Queen of the Amazons. Note, Wonder Woman comics post-Crisis were very different than what they were pre-Crisis, therefore most of that continuity was, for the most part, erased. With some characters, it's hardly noticeable. With Cersei, it's very noticeable because this doesn't really match up with what was going on in the last story we read with her. Cersei's hatred for the Amazons seemed to stem from a bit of a yin and yang on feminist views, with the majority of Amazons believing in empowering women through warrior manners to be on an equal field with men, although most Amazons do believe that men to be their lessers. Not all, of course, but most of them do. Wonder Woman's actually had a few arcs about her fighting her own sisters, believing in equality for men and women. This being because Amazons form warrior bonds, and Wonder Woman has many of those with Justice League members, including Batman and Superman, both men. It's also just something that Diana full-heartedly believes, that men and women are equal. Well, Cersei believes that men aren't just lesser than women, but are instead just simple pets. Amazons think that they're human and deserve to live somewhere far away from them, but live nonetheless. Cersei, however, believes that they should be servants and, well, house pets, practically. Cersei would also become affiliated with the Injustice League, which would help her villain cred and show that she has respect for some men, like Lex Luthor, who she views as being worthy of the power that he's fought for. Not legitimate power, but, power in the business world. Finding it impressive that a mortal could do such things. She would also have a fairly major arc in the early 2000s, where she would use her power to turn the men of the Earth into animals, while also forming allies with some of the lesser-known female villains, like Julie or Hazard, to help control the male animal population. Which does feel that out of character for some of the lesser-known female villains, because, like Julie, she has a husband, she's just okay with this? Actually, I'm pretty sure he's dead at this point, but she had a husband. Although plenty of female heroes and even some female villains would stand against the animal curse, even Cheetah herself. Although to be fair, with Cheetah, it was more about an agenda against Cersei's group because they nearly killed her, and less about the curse itself. In fact, she might have liked it. Cersei would also be shown to be a hypocrite, since forming romantic bonds with the male Cheetah Sebastian Ballesteros. But that's because she views him as a fitting equal to her power due to his own power, both within business and his Cheetah power. However, Cersei's philosophy is that men are always lesser. Even the ones that she respects like Lex Luthor or Bruce Wayne, to her they're pets, or she views them as pets. They're the best of the pound, but nonetheless animals. So yes, Sebastian is now a Cheetah man, that's by choice. He's not being forced by Cersei to be a pet. In fact, they're equals. Which Cersei's entire philosophy goes against that idea, belittling women for wanting to be equal with a man. Yet, she's going against her own ideals here, something that Wonder Woman herself calls her out on. They don't do a lot with this idea, but I kinda like it. It's interesting to see someone really just be the whole, well, it's okay when I do it, but still full-on believe the thing that they're saying. The definition of a hypocrite. Anyways, the curse of course would be reversed after a long fight between the heroes, villains, and other villains. Cersei has since then become one of the most recurring Wonder Woman villains, returning in New 52 and in Rebirth. She would also face the Justice League Dark when Wonder Woman was a part of the team. The character has maintained her villainous charm, which I'm happy about because for whatever reason DC has this idea that women can't be full-on villains, because the majority of female villains are often redeemed, but not Cersei. Cersei's a full-on villain, which I really appreciate, since I don't think this character could ever be redeemed. She's also been made more known due to animation, appearing in JLU where she would turn Wonder Woman into a pig in the episode of This Little Piggy. She would also force Batman to sing to her to reverse the curse. This Cersei is a lot more bubbly in the way she acts. She comes across a lot more friendly, but her actions very clearly are villainous. She's without a doubt a villain, but she comes across as if she's being nice and civil to the heroes a lot of the time. This episode overall is actually really good. It focuses a lot on the Wonder Bat ship, which I'm a shipper of. I know a lot of people disagree with that idea. Personally, I like the relationship. It also focuses on more obscure characters like Bwana Beast, and it also includes Zatanna, who I also really like. She'd also appear in Justice League Action, where they would play more with Cersei's respect for Lex Luthor, thinking of him as a worthy mortal. The two of which would attempt to take over the Mascara, but were of course stopped by the League. This Cersei is very in tone with the previous animated Cersei. That's likely because of the fact that the majority of the people that worked on JLU also worked on this show, like Paul Dini. Even design-wise, she's practically the same, aside from it being a new art style and a little less risky. And most recently, Cersei is said to appear in Creature Commandos, where it'll be one of the first times where the character has appeared without Wonder Woman. Although I do suspect the character will transition to live action to appear in the Amazon's project, hence why the character is being introduced here first. And that's it for Cersei. And by it, I mean the skimming of her history. We didn't really go deep into it, because Cersei has a lot of stories, a lot of which I really do like. But this video is more about Cersei disappearing, and less on her entire history. That video would probably be 3 hours long. I'm really happy that Cersei came back. Even in her first appearance, she felt like a very complex character who could stick around for a long time. Even though DC didn't attempt to do that with the character initially, I'm glad they decided to give her another shot. But even in the Golden Age, the character really did feel like she had something very unique to the character, which would only be shown decades afterwards. I do find it kind of funny since Agatha All Along just came out, so everyone's talking about the Marvel witches, then there's me talking about Cersei. I do have a few videos on the Marvel witches coming up, and I already have a few already done, like Jennifer Kale, and I have one on Agatha Harkness too. But I just really wanted to talk about Cersei, and weirdly it did remind me of Cersei, so I decided to talk about her. And that's it. Like always, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!